Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We are going to wait just a couple of minutes to make sure everyone is able to join the webinar, and then we'll get started. Hello everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Fall into IRS Payroll Compliance, Mastering Forms 941, 940, and more. My name is Christina, and we at TaxBandits are excited to help you stay informed and IRS compliant. If you have any questions during the presentation, please add them to the chat. And if you're unable to see the webinar in full screen, please try clicking the square in the upper right corner of the webinar to enlarge the view. As a reminder, TaxBandits is an IRS authorized e-file provider. We love to talk about taxes, and we have years and years of experience, but we are not tax advisors. If you need assistance with preparing returns or any other specific questions, please consult a certified tax preparer or the IRS. We will now take a quick look at using the GoToWebinar toolbar.
Hello, thanks for joining today's webinar. You can enlarge your screen for the optimal viewing experience using these buttons. You can also click the arrow here to view the hidden menu. The section at the very bottom will twirl out a menu that allows you to ask questions for the host to answer. Thanks for joining us, and we hope you enjoy this webinar.
Today we'll be discussing what business owners and tax preparers can do to master their payroll forms this fall, including meeting your third quarter IRS Form 941 filing requirements, updates on the employee retention credit, IRS advice for vetting or choosing your tax preparer, annual payroll requirements, where we'll discuss Form 940, projected credit reduction states and their tax rates, what is Form 940 Schedule A, and additional annual payroll forms. We'll also take a quick look at how to securely e-file your forms to the IRS. As a reminder, Form 941 is an IRS payroll form that is a filing requirement for the majority of employers. If you pay wages to employees and withhold Social Security, Medicare, and income taxes from their paychecks, you're likely required to file. Since this is a quarterly form, there are 4 deadlines per year for the 941. The first quarter being April 30th, the second quarter July 31st, the third quarter, which is coming up real soon, is October 31st, and the fourth quarter being January 31st. Good news, there aren't any changes or updates to the 941 for the third quarter of 2023, but there are a couple of updates for 2023 in general, so here's a recap. The Social Security wage base limit is $160,200 for 2023, and employers that complete Form 8974, the Qualified Small Business Payroll Tax Credit for Increasing Research Activities, can claim up to $500,000 due to the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022. Some of you may have been hearing the term ERC, and this is becoming a more and more common term in relation to 94X forms, so we'll take a moment to review what it is. The ERC is the Employee Retention Credit. This credit was introduced by the CARES Act in 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic to help businesses that were negatively impacted. So, who is eligible? Per the IRS, businesses that paid employees while they were shut down in limited operations, businesses that qualified as a recovery startup during quarter 3 or quarter 4 of 2021, businesses that had significant decreases in gross receipts between March 13th, 2020 to December 31st, 2021. Eligible employers can claim the ERC on qualified wages paid between March 13th, 2020 and December 31st, 2021. The ERC can be claimed on quarterly payroll Form 941, its amendment Form 941X, and it can even be claimed using Form 944 if applicable. There is a lot of information on who is eligible and what to file, so we've compiled a free PDF of useful information and resources, and we will email that to you after the webinar. Eligible businesses can benefit from claiming the ERC, but the IRS has issued warnings on how businesses choose to do this. There has been a rise in third parties urging businesses to file for the credit even if they are not eligible, and there is now a lot of misinformation out there about the ERC. Beware of third parties offering their services for high-cost upfront fees, especially if the services are being performed incorrectly or for ineligible businesses. Keep in mind that taxpayers are always responsible for the information that is filed with the IRS on their behalf. Due to the high levels of fraudulent 941 and 941X filings in regards to the ERC, the IRS released a moratorium to update the public, which reads as follows. To protect taxpayers from scams, IRS orders immediate stop to new employee retention credit processing amid surge of questionable claims. Concerns from tax pros, aggressive marketing to ineligible applicants highlights unacceptable risk to businesses and the tax system. This hold will last until at least December 31st, 2023. It is focused on helping business owners that are being scammed and manipulated by aggressive marketing tactics. Over 600,000 claims are on hold until the end of the year. Supply chain issues being the most common hardship that is cited on fraudulent or incorrect claims. At this time, the IRS advises businesses check the eligibility requirements thoroughly before submitting a new claim. Businesses who filed an existing claim can withdraw it as long as the claim has not been processed by the IRS or paid. Businesses that have filed a claim that was processed should be aware that if they're not eligible, they would be required to repay the refund. There will be a special withdrawal option coming soon. And the IRS is creating an ERC settlement program that will facilitate the repayment of ERC claims that were made in error and processed and paid. The IRS is also training audit agents specifically to detect wrongful claims when processing resumes. Any businesses that are concerned about their current claims should contact a reputable tax preparer or CPA. Choosing a tax preparer or CPA is a great option for businesses to assess whether or not they're eligible for the ERC and just for maintaining tax compliance in general. However, it is absolutely crucial to do this before turning over any business or tax information. The IRS provides advice for choosing a tax preparer and a database for checking their credentials. The IRS also provides options for individual taxpayers and business owners to report potential suspicious and potentially fraudulent activity on Form 3949A. We've also included information on choosing a preparer on the PDF that you'll receive by email after this webinar. Form 940 is the employer's annual federal unemployment tax return. This amount is paid into the Federal Unemployment Fund, which provides unemployment relief to unemployed workers. Employers that meet these IRS requirements are generally required to file. If they paid $1,500 in wages to employees in any quarter of the past 2 calendar years, you had one or more full-time, part-time, or seasonal employees for at least part of a day in 20 or more different weeks in 2022 or in 2023. But note, this doesn't apply to businesses that are in partnerships. The deadline to file Form 940 with the IRS is January 31st. Employers are required to pay a FUTA tax rate of 6% on the first $7,000 of wages that's paid to each employee. Only employers pay into this fund. They do not deduct taxes from their employees for this. Many states require SUTA payments. This is the amount paid into the Federal Unemployment Tax Fund, which provides unemployment relief to unemployed workers. However, for employers that pay wages in a credit reduction state, the amount of this credit will be reduced in accordance with the state's laws. So, what is a credit reduction state? Employers that pay SUTA tax in credit reduction states cannot deduct the full 5.4%. Instead, they must deduct their credit based on the credit reduction tax rate. A credit reduction state is one that takes a loan from the federal government for their unemployment fund. States are given 2 years to make a repayment, and if there is still a balance due after 2 years, the state becomes subject to credit reduction. The IRS will initiate a credit reduction of 0.3% for each year that the state still has an outstanding balance. The Department of Labor finalizes the credit reduction states in early November of each year based on what states have an outstanding balance. So, what are the projected credit reduction states for 2023? As mentioned, this will be finalized in November, but the states and credit reduction rates that the IRS projects for 2023 are California at 0.3%, Connecticut at 0.3%, New York at 0.3%, and Illinois at 0.3%, as well as the U.S. Virgin Islands at 3.6%. So, what is Form 940 Schedule A? When completing Form 940, Schedule A, which is for multi-state employer and credit reduction information, may be applicable for your business. Employers should likely complete and attach Schedule A if they pay wages to employees in credit reduction states and/or employers in multiple states. TaxBandits supports the Schedule A and simplifies the filing of Form 940. We'll now take a quick look at additional annual payroll forms. Form 943, the employer's annual federal tax return for agricultural employees, is used to report agricultural employment taxes. Form 944, which is the employer's annual tax return, is used to report employment taxes. This form is specifically for small business owners to report annual federal income tax and FICA tax with the IRS. Small employers with an annual liability of $1,000 or less for Social Security, Medicare, and federal income tax can file annual information returns instead of the quarterly Form 941 if applicable and approved by the IRS. Form 945 is the annual return of withheld federal income tax, and it's used to report tax withheld under backup withholding requirements from all non-employees, independent contractors, or freelancers. For anyone that's less familiar with or not currently using TaxBandits, we are an IRS authorized e-file provider with over a decade of experience. We are SOC 2 certified, and we support major forms including Form 1099 NEC, Miscellaneous, K, W-2, 1095s, and many more. We offer postal mailing and online access for recipient copy distribution, and of course, we support the 94X payroll forms. Not only are we IRS authorized and SOC 2 certified, but e-filing with TaxBandits is easy. You can e-file Form 941 in minutes. Simply create your account, select your tax year and quarter, enter the required information, review the reported details, and pay and transmit your return. So let's take a look at filing with TaxBandits. I'll get started by signing into my account. And to get started, we'll select Start New, Form, and we'll see a full list of the forms that TaxBandits supports, including the ones that we've spoken about today, like the 941, 941X, 940, 43, 44, 45, and many more. To get started, we'll choose the form that we need to file. We'll select the business that we're filing for, review the business details, and continue. And from here, we'll choose the tax year and quarter that we need to file. At this point, I'll confirm that I am authorized to complete the 941 for the business, and I'll even add the business name. As you can see, the business details have already populated on the form, as well as the year and quarter that we're filing. So from here, we'll enter the form details in the light orange boxes. And as you can see, the grayed out boxes are auto-calculated based off of the entries that we've completed. We'll save and continue to the next page of our form. As you can see, if you need worksheets for lines like 11D, 13C, and so on, the worksheets are available to complete. And again, the grade boxes are based off of the entries that you've made, and you can update the orange boxes as needed. We'll now continue to part 2 of our form, where we can choose the applicable deposit schedule and tax liability option. For many businesses, Schedule B is a requirement if they are semi-weekly. So if we select the semi-weekly option, TaxBandits will generate the Schedule B for us. And of course, then the amounts can be completed throughout the year as needed. And you can see if the amount does not match line 12, we will not be able to continue. So that amount will need to be adjusted until it equals line 12. We are now able to save and continue our form. And from here, we'll select how we will pay the balance due. If the balance due is less than $2,500, electronic funds withdrawal is available. Otherwise, we can choose EFTPS, credit or debit card, or check or money order. We'll then confirm the payment method that we've selected and that payment method must be completed separately. And we'll see a review of all of the Form 941 information that we've completed. If any changes are needed, we can select the pencil next to the applicable section to return to and edit that form. Otherwise, we'll save and continue. TaxBandits performs an error check based on the IRS business rules. If there were any errors, those could be resolved here. Otherwise, we'll continue to the signature section of the form. When e-filing the 941, businesses can enter an online signature PIN. If they do not have one, Form 8453 EMP is available as an alternative. This form is populated based on the entries on our 941. and it can quickly be e-signed in TaxBandits either using one of the available styles or by drawing with our mouse and confirming that this mark represents our electronic signature. We'll then adopt and sign, and you can see a signed copy of the 8453 as well. At this point, you'll continue through the payment process in TaxBandits unless you've purchased prepaid credits, which allow you to continue filing and apply a credit rather than paying every time you file. Credits never expire. They also allow you to receive a lower cost per form based on the volume of forms that you're filing. And all that's left is to preview our form details, make sure everything looks correct. As you can see, you can view, download copies of the 941, Schedule B, and 8453. If everything looks good, simply complete your filing, and if you've not purchased credits, you'll have to enter that card information. Credits also mean that you don't have to process a payment every time you file. When ready, you'll click Pay and Transmit to submit that form to the IRS. And you'll get a confirmation message in your TaxBandits account assuring you that it's been submitted. Once that form is processed by the IRS, TaxBandits will update the status in your account and will also send you an email. At this time, we'll return to our presentation and we'll have a quick Q&A. So go ahead and submit those questions in the questions box you can see on the left side of our screen. We'll give everyone a moment to get their questions in, and then we'll jump in. Okay, our first question is TaxBandits cloud-based or desktop? That's a great question. TaxBandits is cloud-based, allowing you to easily and securely access your account from any computer. Okay, our next question is, how do I find out the status of my ERC after I file for it? And that's a good question. Once the form is accepted by the IRS corresponds directly with the taxpayer regarding the ERC or refund. For information regarding the ERC, please call the IRS at 1-800-829-4933. Okay, we've got another question. Will I have access to copies of my forms after I file using TaxBandits? And the answer is yes. PDFs of all of the forms that you file with TaxBandits will remain available in your account for you to download and print or access as needed. And I think we have time for one more question. The last one is, will a recording of this webinar be available? And it will. We add recordings of all of our past webinars to our YouTube channel under TaxBandits. We'll add this one as well as future webinars there, so make sure to check it out. And just for everyone's reference, as mentioned, we will email you a PDF with information on the topics that we've covered today. I also want to remind everyone to make sure the email address that you've registered with is spelled correctly, because we are going to send out that PDF. We'll send out regular educational information, so you make sure that you don't miss out on any of that by double checking that contact info. If it's wrong, you can reach out to us at support@taxbandits.com and we'll help you get that fixed. And that's all we have time for today. If you submitted a question and we did not get to it, we appreciate you taking the time to ask, and a member of our TaxBandits team will email you about that question after the webinar. We like to help you work smarter, not harder. You can visit us for the latest IRS updates and tips for making the most of your account. If you haven't already, check out our blog. Like I mentioned, our YouTube channel. We also have an extensive knowledge base available on our site. And for the YouTube channel, you can subscribe to make sure you don't miss out on any future updates. Thank you all so much for joining us today. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. You can reach us by phone at 704-684-4751, by email at support@taxbandits.com, or by online chat at taxbandits.com. And if you don't already have a TaxBandits account, head on over to taxbandits.com and create one now.